Hi, I'm Pam Fox, and I'm streaming live on YouTube into the Plantar Reflux Facebook group. Today I'm going to be cooking up some corn chowder, which I've been looking forward to all summer. It's one of my absolute favorite um, soups, I guess, or fall dishes or winter dishes. Um, and I've been looking forward to it, and it's raining outside, so I thought this would be the perfect day to throw together one of my favorite dishes, and it's such a great dish for people with reflux because in general there's no trigger foods in it, so you can, and it's a soup, which means it's already been cooked. I apologize for the lag time. I see I've got a weak connection, but we'll do the best that we can. It's a cooked food, which means it's going to be more easily digestible. There's no reflux trigger foods in it. It's just a great dish, and it's a crowd pleaser. Like the whole family should love it. I mean, it does have corn in it, so for people who can't have corn because of allergies, you could omit that. I know it's corn chowder, but you could omit that and make more like a potato soup. Just put in more potatoes. Okay, so let's get started. The idea I like about this dish is that it's flexible. Like, for example, the dish calls for leeks. I don't have any leeks, but I have these green onions, and they're actually kind of past their due date. They're fine. They're not fresh, so I need to use them up. So we'll just throw those in there. Typically for people with reflux, you probably want to stay away from these, but I'm going to go ahead and throw them in there just because I don't have a leek. And I'm using the Instant Pot today. I've got it here on my counter, and it's on the saute function. So I'm just going to be throwing all of the stuff into the Instant Pot as I go, which is another thing that I love about the Instant Pot is you can just kind of chop and drop your food and saute it as you go. And then once everyth's in the pot, you can turn it on the pressure cook function and then cook it for as long as it needs to be cooked and walk away from it, you know what I mean? And then it's ready to go, depending on what you're cooking. Now, today this dish is going to go really quick because I cooked my potatoes in advance. So I've talked about that before, how I like to put a bag of potatoes. Let's see, hold on a second. Those in the refrigerator. I buy like kind of medium-sized bags like this just because I'm only cooking for myself, and I'll cook a whole bag of these if I know I'm going to be cooking potatoes later in the week. If I'm going to be making potato hash, I'll put a whole bag of these, just put them right into the Instant Pot with this little guy that comes with it. It just sits on the bottom and keeps your food away from the water. And I'll cook them for about, on high pressure for about 5 minutes, which just kind of undercooks them so that they're ready to go for other dishes. Now, right now, I just picked up a bag of these organic rainbow carrots. So this calls for carrots. So I'm just going to chop these up and throw them in. Of course, you could use any carrots you want. You could use those little matchstick carrots that I'm always talking about. You could throw a handful of those in. You wouldn't even have to chop them. Or you could do these little baby carrots. You could do whatever. But I'm going to put a bunch of these in there. These are really sweet and good. And when I make this soup, I just make sure to try to chop everything into equal bite-sized pieces because we're not going to be pureeing or blending this soup. When it's done, it's good to go. So you want everything kind of chopped into bite-sized pieces as it goes into the pot. So how is everybody today? If you guys have questions, go ahead and post them. If you have questions about reflux or about hiatal hernia, you can post them during the live in the comment section below, and I'll answer them as I see them come up, if I see them come up. Sometimes I don't see them come up for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but I'll see them later. From the live feed, I'll see them later, but I'm doing well here in a story of, we had a little bit of rain this morning. I went out for my workout and it was like barely raining, and I thought, well, that's better than nothing. You know, we've had all these fires over here in Oregon and Washington and California, and the air quality has been, it's been a lot better yesterday and today. They're saying it's still poor, but you can't even smell the smoke. You can see it when you look up. It looks really foggy, but it's really a lot better. I mean, you could really smell it at first. It was toxic. I had a really bad headache for a couple of days. So anyway, a lot of us have been praying for rain, and today we had a little sprinkle this morning, and then about an hour ago it started pouring down pretty heavy, like not torrential rain pour, but it's raining outside. I'm really happy about that. So yeah, the fires, you know, they're getting them under control, and that's good, but of course there's been a lot of damage done, including to people's homes, and I think along the West Coast I heard 20 people have died, so that's not good. So this is going to be a really pretty suit because I use those rainbow carrots. It's going to be really pretty. So this recipe does call for bell peppers, and as you guys know, if you already follow me, I use these mini sweet peppers. So when it comes to reflux, the rule is you want to stay away from peppers if they're spicy. These orange and red peppers, people tend to do, you know, some people tend to do okay, these yellow guys. And so it's nice if you keep these in your freezer because, you know, sometimes when you buy a bell pepper, it might just maybe you use half of it and stick it in the refrigerator. Hang on a second. And then it goes bad because you forget about it. So this is nice because you can just use, it comes in a little Ziploc. You can get them in organic and just keep them in your freezer and they do great. And so what I do with these is usually just run them under some hot water so that they're a good chopping consistency. And then again, I just cut these into bite-sized pieces. So we'll go ahead and do that. If you're just coming in, I'm making corn chowder and I've got my Instant Pot going and I'm just chopping and dropping everything as I go. Another reason I love this recipe is because of the simplicity of the ingredients. And like I was saying before, you know, if you're missing certain things, you can still probably throw this together and it'll be good. I mean, I wouldn't make it without potatoes. That's kind of my favorite part of it. The recipe though, I kept the ingredients pretty simple. You could throw in things like cilantro or flat leaf parsley. That would be really good. You could add in like a little bit of Italian seasoning. I didn't do any of that. I like it really simple. I like the texture and the flavor of the different vegetables that are in this dish. And I love, it's got coconut milk in it, which gives it a really nice, rich depth of flavor from the coconut milk. And if you can't do coconut milk, you could use regular, like a rice milk or a soy milk. Or you could try a lighter coconut milk, which has a lower fat content. Typically, if coconut milk is a trigger for you, it's because of the fat content. So you could try a lighter coconut milk. Or you could try a different plant-based milk, like almond milk or oat milk or cashew milk or anything. Well, cashew milk is a higher fat content as well. Any of your nut milks are going to have a higher fat content. So again, we're just got a really beautiful color going. So these are my potatoes. And again, I just put these into the Instant Pot I think yesterday and just cooked them for 5 minutes, which means they're still a little bit, I mean, they're almost fully cooked, I would say. They're almost fully cooked. And these I just left the skin on because I knew I was going to be making corn chowder, and I don't really mind leaving the skins on. And so because I already cooked my potatoes, I'm literally going to, when I'm done and I put the lid on this pot and I hit pressure cook, like if these were raw, I'd probably hit pressure cook for about 12 to 15 minutes to cook the potatoes through. Because these are already cooked, I'll probably cook it for 2 or 3 minutes. It'll pressure cook it, it'll heat everything through, and it'll be ready to go, which is good because I'm hungry. So I think the last time I made this for you guys, I'm pretty sure I've made this for you before. Maybe not during this, maybe not since I published my cookbook, but I know I've made it before because I forgot to put the corn in. If you guys don't know, my cookbook is called Planti-Reflux. It's on Amazon. It's an ebook and it's a cookbook, but I also share a lot of information in there about reflux, and you can take the 28-day plant-based anti-reflux challenge, which is a 28-day challenge where you're basically going on a plant-based diet to see what a plant-based diet might or might not do for your reflux and for your health in general. So those of you that are taking the challenge, I hope you're enjoying it. You can join the Facebook group. It's called Planti-Reflux, same name as the cookbook, where we try a plant-based diet for a month. And I know that I've gotten really positive feedback from a few of you that are already into your second month, which is great. Thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate that. But I come in here on Tuesdays and I cook here in the kitchen, something from the cookbook. And I'm going to save that potato for something else. So this will be it. And we're going to throw in our corn and our broth and our milk. And that's it. So my recipe for mushroom broth and for vegetable broth are in the cookbook, but it's so simple. The mushroom or the vegetable broth is just more of the same. You cook some carrots and celery and leeks, and then you put them in the blender with water, and you make a puree or a vegetable broth. You could add salt to it if you want to, which is really what makes broth tasty is the salt, or you can leave it out. It's up to you. Or the mushroom broth, I like to buy dried mushrooms, which is a variety of dried mushrooms prepackaged, and put those in my Vitamix and make like a powder or a flour. And I'm out of that, but that's a great addition to this soup. It gives it a lot of flavor. This is Soleil. I don't think I've ever talked about Soleil on this channel before, so you can look up Soleil and see what people are saying about that. But it's basically homemade salt water. You just put like Himalayan salt in your jar and fill it up with water, and you let it sit, and the water absorbs all the salt, and it's rich in minerals, and you can use that to salt your food instead of regular salt. And I don't know if there's anything to it, but anyway, I've been doing that just because I heard about it and thought I would try it, and I actually really like the flavor of the salt. For some reason, it's got almost like a butteriness to it, which sounds kind of weird, but anyway. So you want to put in your broth and your corn. I've got a brand new bag of corn here. I was going to use up I've got a lot of cans of corn in my pantry just because I've been stocking up. You guys been stocking up, preparing for the potential famine. I've been stocking up on canned goods when they go on sale. So I'm going to leave those in the pantry and just use this up. But my favorite way to use corn is with this frozen method, just because you can measure it, you can keep it in your freezer, and it's always available. It's organic. This that I buy, I get at Costco, and it's organic. Usually I do 2 cups of corn. I'm just feeling like throwing in 3 today, so I'm going to throw in 3. And I'm going to be doing, what have I got here? I've got Native Forest coconut milk. I throw that in there. And that's it. So yeah, this is just really about heating it through at this point. I feel like it needs a little bit more liquid since I added extra potatoes. right, we're going to do 3 minutes. 3 minutes in the Instant Pot. All right, so today I don't have my ebook here because I forgot to charge my tablet, and I didn't realize until right before I went live. So we're not going to go over a chapter today. I thought I would just talk about when you're in a situation where you're trying to stick to a diet, and then something is either given to or put in front of you, or you're just in a situation where you're like, screw it, I'm eating that. That just looks way too good. Can you do a quick recap of what you've put in there? Sure. It's basically corn chowder is basically corn and potatoes. The base is leeks and celery and carrots. So I just put in the Instant Pot leeks and celery and carrots and just chopped and dropped as I went, and then threw in the potatoes and the corn, and then 4 cups of stock. I used vegetable stock today. And then I did 3 cups of corn today as well. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I didn't follow a recipe, so I've made this so many times. It's one of those things I really don't need to follow a recipe. But so yeah, and because I pre-cooked my potatoes, it's just going to cook on the Instant Pot for about 3 minutes. And yes, it is vegan. It's absolutely vegan. Everything I cook, everything in my cooking is vegan, and I'm vegan. So. Anyway, so when you're in this situation where you're trying to stick to a diet and then food is put in front of you, whatever the scenario is, and you're like, screw it, I'm eating that. What I want you to understand is a lot of people really kick themselves because they think, I have horrible discipline, I have horrible willpower, I have no willpower, right? You're in those situations and all of a sudden you find yourself just shoving food into your mouth, or whatever it is, something like cookies or something you really know you shouldn't be eating, whether it's a trigger food or it's just not on your diet, or it's going to make you sick or give you a stomach ache or whatever. For whatever reason, you shouldn't be eating it, and all of a sudden you're just gobbling it up. So the thing you really need to understand about that, it's a lot of people think it's just all a mental game, and it's not all a mental game. Like there's a physicalness to it as well. And what I mean by that is when you're hungry and your eyes see something that you like, maybe it's macaroni and cheese, or maybe it's pepperoni pizza or cheesecake or something you've had before and you know that you like it, your brain remembers the pleasure that you receive from eating that particular food. And so if you're hungry and you see that particular food, your body is going to tell your brain, or your brain is going to tell your body, or whichever way you want to look at it, to eat that food because it's pleasurable, because it's a source of calories and your body's hungry, right? Maybe you haven't eaten anything all day. Maybe you've been, eating really small portions because you've fallen into the portion control trap. So what I'm trying to get at is we need to stop thinking of it as a mental game, and we need to somehow muster up more self-discipline and more, that kind of mentality where we're just like, oh, I have horrible willpower. When it comes to your body satisfying its nutrient needs and its caloric needs, it's going to win every time eventually, and you will eat if you're hungry enough and the food is put in front of you. You know what I mean? Like if you show up at a all-you-can-eat buffet and you haven't had anything to eat all day and you're on a diet, yeah, maybe you'll do okay the one time. But if you did that every day, you would say, screw it, by the end of the week, I'm eating everything in sight. And that's kind of what happens, particularly, I think, to women who kind of get into this cycle of portion control and binge, portion control and binge. Some of you might not know what I'm talking about, but I know a lot of you do, where all of a sudden you just can't eat fast enough. You're just shoving food into your mouth, and it tastes so good, and you're so hungry, right? Your body is hungry because you're not giving it enough nutrients or calories. And you might think, well, that's crazy, I eat too many calories. When we start to look at the breakdown of the food, the composition and the caloric density of food, you might be eating a lot of food, but if it's really rich in, fat and protein calories, but low in carbohydrate calories, which would be this is 100% carbohydrate, not 100%, but just about. I mean, the coconut milk adds in quite a bit of fat, but fruits and vegetables by default are high carbohydrate food. And so, if you're playing around with something like paleo or keto, where you're doing like a high fat or a high protein diet, your body is going to potentially feel hungry if you're not, giving it the nutrients that it needs, the sugars from the carbs and the nutrients, the vitamins and minerals from the fruits and vegetables. So what I'm trying to say is what I've talked about before, how important it is to have a plan and to be prepared and to kind of really see ahead. Like if in that example where you're going to like a family reunion and there's going to be a potluck or something like that, you've got to prepare for that, right? You either need to fill up and eat before you get there and then just snack on the fruit tray or the vegetable tray, or you need to bring your own food so that you have something that you can eat along with everybody else, right? It's really important, and you'll find that when you start to really be prepared, have a plan, make sure you're eating consistently. And I know I set that for 3 minutes, but it's got to, like, the Instant Pot is it's sneaky. You can set it for 3 minutes and you think, oh, in 3 minutes I'm going to have my meal. That's not how it works. It has to heat up, it has to pressure cook for 3 minutes, and then it has to depressure. But I'm gonna talk here for just a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna go ahead and open it up whether it's done or not, because literally I could have eaten that just the way it was before I even put on the lid, because I pre-cooked those potatoes and they were almost completely done. They just need to heat through, really. So yeah, it's really important if you're struggling with sticking to any diet, really, but this diet in particular, what we're talking about is a plant-based diet that eliminates common trigger foods. And on a plant-based diet, it's important that you are eating, because as soon as you skip a meal or decide to do maybe like intermittent fasting, which I'm not saying you can't experiment with intermittent fasting, but I would say that if you're going to experiment with intermittent fasting, you start out with baby steps, right? Don't start out with a 24-hour fast window and a 4-hour eating window. You want to start out with something a little bit more realistic than that and see how it goes. Because on a plant-based diet, you're going to feel, the mental part of that is you're going to feel like, oh, I'm on this plant-based diet or this vegan diet and I'm hungry all the time. Therefore, I can't do a plant-based diet. It just doesn't work for me. And once you have that mentality, you'll quit and you'll never try it again, right? But if you have a plan and you're prepared and you're not starving yourself and you're not skipping meals, which I know is be harder for people with reflux to really fill up, because maybe you have to eat smaller, more frequent meals in order to not have a trigger. So I understand that, but you can find that perfect balance where you're feeding your body and you're not starving all the time. You should start to notice that you'll have more energy. You should start to notice that you're having less cravings because you're satisfying those caloric and those nutrient needs that the body has. And if you can satisfy those needs and stretch your stretch receptors, your brain and your body will just be in harmony, and they won't bug you all the time saying, give me a cookie, or give me a donut or whatever, macaroni and cheese, pepperoni pizza, these calorically dense pleasure foods that we haven't forgotten that we like, right? The brain will remember the pleasure from those foods. But if you're satisfying yourself with other foods that you love, I love this particular dish. I can eat 3 or 4 servings of it and I can't get enough of it. I love it. It's so delicious. So I don't miss the pepperoni pizza. Now, if I went 48 hours without food and you set me down in front of a pepperoni pizza, even though I'm vegan, I might eat that pepperoni pizza because I'm that hungry, right? And I don't have any control over myself when I'm really, really hungry. So those are some encouragements and some things to remember. You've got to have a plan. You've got to be prepared. You've got to look ahead. So if you have a 9-to-5 job, how am I going to make this work so that I always have good, healthy food available, so that I'm not putting myself in that place where I'm hungry and desperate and likely to break my diet when somebody puts something junky or not in my diet in front of me. All right. Okay, let's check the Instant Pot. All right, here we go. You see that? It's really adds a nice color with those rainbow carrots. You don't have to have rainbow carrots, by the way. Let me see if this celery is even cooked through. It's got a little crunch to it yet, but for raw foodists, you'd love this kind of, you could make this fairly raw. You could cook your potatoes in advance, put it all in, heat it through, and have those crunchy vegetables still in there. Ah. Mmm. Mmm. So if you don't have my cookbook, that's okay. Just write down these ingredients, throw them together. 4 cups of broth, one can of coconut milk, and all of these vegetables. If you don't have an Instant Pot, just put it in your soup pot. Cook it till everything's, you know, tender or to the al dente of your preference. It really is a crowd pleaser, and for most people, they do really well with this dish in terms of reflux and other digestive conditions as well, unless you're allergic to corn, of course. All right, so that's it for today, you guys. I hope you're all doing well. I hope that you're staying safe. I hope that you're taking care of each other. I'll be right back here again next Saturday in the kitchen, making more recipes for you guys. Thanks for watching.